Around this time, a website by the name of Stencil Revolution came online. Stencil Revolution was it was an online community specifically for stencil artists, and through there, I had an ad agency that found me, and they wanted me to illustrate this various athletes, and then they were going to turn it into like this online web episode, and they were hoping that it would eventually transfer over to like an online thing, or to where it transferred to like a TV thing, and it would be a commercial. As it turns out, it didn't happen. But this is
Heroes are not made over you.
this was just the teaser for the thing. You know, not completely happy with the way it came out, but it did sort of expand what I thought was possible with stencils.
No time like the present. So when
And you'll see one of the books that I'm passing around actually has some of the stencils from this that were originally created.
now.
And looking back, it's a pretty cheesy episode, but
Where am I?
This is Hooptown.
What? I don't have time for this. I have a game, man.
and I don't think that you guys are too familiar with any of the American basketball players, but I mean, it's, you know, like Vince Carter, LeBron James, you know, are fairly well-known athletes in the U.S. So it's cool just sort of being attached to a project that was halfway decent. But, you know, you can tell by the voiceovers, they have no acting ability whatsoever. So everything was just really dead when they were trying to do the voiceovers and stuff. But I won't bore you with the rest of the episode. If you're really that interested, I can show you later. But, you know, from there, that kind of gave me more of a reason to sort of talk with Eric Hayes, you know, and just kind of pick his brain about how to conduct, you know, business so that you don't get screwed, you know, stuff like that. And as it turns out, with that episode, Nike ended up screwing me over pretty good. I mean, I think they got me for about $30,000. What had happened is the ad agency that was doing this, they thought they would do this little piece that they would then pitch it to Nike, and then Nike would give them a ton of money to do like a TV commercial. Well, they pitched it to Nike, and Nike's like, no, we already have something similar to that, so no. And so once the ad agency knew that it wasn't going to go any further, they just decided they wouldn't pay me. You know, when you're young and you don't know how to handle yourself, and you don't know that you have rights, and you don't know where to go, more often than not, you kind of just take it. You know, and so I just thought, yeah, look, well, I'm screwed. You know, not much I can do. The law's only as good as you can afford in the U.S. I couldn't afford a good lawyer, so I knew that any money I spent trying to sue Nike, one of the largest companies on the face of the earth, you know, would probably go to waste. As it turns out, a couple months later, one of the guys from Nike called up the ad agency, and they said, well, you know, we're not picking up the episode that you wanted to do, but we really like this way the stencils looked in that one guy's piece, so give us high resolution images of those, and you know, we're going to use it to decorate the interior of all the Nike towns. The Nike towns are like the massive sort of flagship store for selling Nike products. Well, in the midst of them screwing me over, they never bothered to get the high-res images from me. So considering that they didn't have the high-res images, they then needed to come back to me, ask me for them, and since they hadn't paid me, I was able to kind of leverage myself enough to where I did get compensated in the end. But it was my first real run-in with understanding how corporations have a propensity of screwing people over easily and quickly. You know, from the Nike thing, I was lucky enough to sort of get a little bit of visibility for that. I was pretty happy with the way it came out. And from there, I guess people started becoming a little more familiar with what it was that I was doing. That led to K-Swiss, the shoe company. They were organizing an event called K-Spray, which is going to be like a 5-city Asian tour. And the idea that they had was that they would take, you know, a group of artists around. We would do like a live painting thing. They'd have music and, you know, drinks and everything else. And it was just kind of like a good vibe. And so they would watch us creating the work, and it gives people something to look at. You know, and you can see we went to Tokyo, Hong Kong, Taipei, Seoul, Korea, and Bangkok within 2 weeks. So covering 5 cities in 2 weeks, it was an absolutely insane schedule, but it was also one of the most fun that I've dealt with. K-Swiss, on the other hand, they were the exact opposite of what Nike was for me. They took care of me financially. They made sure they gave me the freedom to do whatever I want. Was really happy with the people, the management, and everything else there. And so, you know, from there, that began, you know, a 3-year relationship with the shoe company to just kind of bring my art to a greater audience, you know, put a little bit of money in my pocket, and sort of branch out beyond what it was that I was doing. You know, from that, we actually did a pair of shoes together. You know, and as you can see, this is the shoe box, and it kind of continues on with my aesthetic of this like hyper detailed, you know, approach to working. And that pattern is a pattern that I've sort of become known for, you know, over the years. Let me see what else I got in here. You know, so this was us going through Korea. You know, to be honest, half these photos are probably the equivalent of boring vacation photos, but nevertheless, I think it's important just to kind of see like the camaraderie that comes out of it. I mean, certainly something like NUART is a prime example where, although the art may be the art that's on the walls sort of serves as an artifact of the experience, but I think for most of the artists involved, it's more about the people that you're with, what you're doing, seeing how other people, you know, create their work, and just kind of getting to know the personalities behind everything. You know, so this was a guy by the name of Phibbs from Australia. Great guy. This is when we were actually in Korea, or in Tokyo. And you'll see, like, as I go through all these countries, I'm always taking thousands of photos. I mean, just, more often than not, you see me with a camera and, you know, in my hands. And so this piece is actually the same piece that I did for NUART 2 years ago, if anybody remembers that. There's the Stencil Revolution logo. If any of you are familiar with 610, Swedish stencil artist, that's him. He was the third person. So this whole tour consisted of me, 610, and Phibbs. While we're in Tokyo, they were giving out these free shirts. And so everybody was coming up and asking, like, hey, would you stencil my shirt? So, you know, started stenciling everything, but they pretty quickly ran out of t-shirts. And so this guy came in and was really upset he wasn't able to get a free t-shirt. And so Carl, half drunk and half jokingly, said, I'll just stencil it on your stomach. So the guy quickly ripped up his shirt and, yeah, stenciled right on his stomach. So it's just the oddest thing. They had no idea who we were. They'd never seen us. They maybe read like one press release or something like that before we got there, but nevertheless. You know, and of course when you're traveling around, you get out, you get to see the city, you know, tag everything up a bit. This is the piece that I did for that show. This kind of gives you an idea of what it was like, you know, people just crowding around, you know, and going through, like this is in Hong Kong, you know, and again, like, as I'm going through these countries, you know, seeing these sort of overpopulated streets and this kind of cluster of like architecture built on top of architecture and everything else, you know, it's just real inspiring kind of seeing that. And so, you know, about halfway through the trip, I was just looking forward to getting back home so I could start doing more stencils. You know, and so, again, more architecture. You know, and this gives you an idea. So, like with this, you know, I have a love for alleys. Have no idea why. It's just sort of one of those things that appeals to me for no apparent reason. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of metaphors that kind of go into them as well. But for me, I just like the aesthetics of it, the perspective. You know, and so this gives you an idea of how, you know, how the pieces are turned from a picture into a stencil.